What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. We have a legend on the pod today. He's blessed us with so many classic records. He took us to his vinyl bar where he has over 10,000 records from his personal collection, handed me some titles, and I did a dope freestyle. Make sure you stay tuned for that. So excited to have this man here. Peanut Butter Wolf.
Yo, this is for my Flow State. Add it, yeah. Y'all know we back at it. Ain't it crazy how the mind works magic? We gon' show you the method behind the madness, 'cause this is for my...
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Flow State with yours truly, Harry Mack. My guest today is somebody who I'm truly honored to have here in the studio. This man is a legend, LA-based DJ and founder of one of the most influential independent record labels of all time, a label that's brought us classic records from the likes of Madlib, MF Doom, J Dilla, Anderson .Paak, just scratching the surface. He's famous for his record collection, which is immeasurable beyond belief. He's also famous for going against the grain, paving his own path, trusting his own musical taste above anything else, and investing in the artists that he truly believes are great, regardless of how commercially marketable they may or may not be. And so as a result, he's built a brand that's been respected and trusted for nearly 3 decades. So excited to have him here, my friends. DJ and founder of Stone's Throw Record, Peanut Butter Wolf. What's going on, man?
That's my new bio.
there you go. You can have that.
You put it all in there.
Yes. AI, talk to text. We'll send that to you, man.
Wow.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for making the time.
Yeah, no. Awesome.
Appreciate you coming through. So you're somebody who is so respected for your personal taste in music. I'm curious, like, what's the first music you remember falling in love with as a kid?
Besides Schoolie D?
Schoolie D is for that to be your first love. That's pretty. Yeah, we were just talking before the mic started recording about the legend Schoolie D.
Yeah, because I was hanging out with his manager who actually put out one of my first records in '95. So it was kind of cool, like having keeping relationships with people like that I knew back then, and then meeting people that I looked up to through them. So
yeah, incredible.
But my journey, I guess, it started just kind of just noticing music on the TV and in grocery stores and stuff like that. But I did have a second grade teacher that was really into a lot of disco and funk and soul, and he would, I think it was probably like once a week, maybe every Friday, he had turntables set up in the classroom, and everyone could, and like headphones, like little stations, and everyone could listen to music. And so,
wow.
Yeah, that is like a memory that I'll always have,
What subject did he teach?
Oh, it was just second grade. So it was like everything. Second grade. Yeah.
Okay. Damn. To have turntables in the classroom is fire. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So, so I learned about the Jacksons and,
wow.
Just all that.
That's dope.
Heat wave,
Yeah. That's amazing. I wish we would have had some turntables in the classroom growing up, man.
Yeah.
We needed that.
Yeah.
We needed that. So have you always gravitated to like different genres and styles and had an eclectic taste? Because Stone's Throw, like obviously I'm very familiar with the seminal hip hop releases, but
right.
You guys are by no means solely a hip hop label. Like you dabble in all different styles. And have you always had that eclectic taste kind of growing up?
I think really early I did, because so my parents were in the Record of the Month Club, which was a thing, like you pay a penny and you get 13 records for the first penny, and then you basically sign a contract where you have to keep getting records and paying full price.
Oh shit, okay.
And so their taste was not really my taste, but I guess it was kind of, because that was all I was exposed to. So
yeah.
But then when I found out about funk and soul, I really honed in on that, like I was saying, second grade, but kind of all the way till about high school, and like in high school I kind of discovered like new wave and like kind of alternative electronic form, house music and stuff. So I would say kind of at that point, and even like just digging for hip hop samples, like through hip hop I really was learning about a lot of different music too. So I would say like those were kind of my years, and just being in high school, like it was tough because most people that liked hip-hop didn't like the alternative rock music that I was into. Like in San Jose, San Jose was a little behind. Like in New York and stuff, like they all got it,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a little tricky. And then when the Beastie Boys came out, their early stuff, that it was punk, and then they had a song called Cookie Puss, which was kind of electro funk rap,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
scratching and stuff. So when I heard them, I was like, oh wow, this is like a group that kind of gets like what I like, and you know,
Hell yeah.
like, and this is well before they ever had an album out, and like when they finally came out with License to Ill, they made it to #1 on the charts, and it was weird for me to see that, because I mean I like and those years, like I was really I wanted to be their DJ basically. Like I was
Damn.
like, yeah, you know,
yeah.
I can like, yeah, cut as well as anybody, and
Right.
and I literally went to their show. This is before they had an album out, and I had my demo tape, I had my senior picture, and I had a letter, and I threw it at them on the stage.
What?
And they like for weeks, when I came home from school, I would ask my mom, did the Beastie Boys call? And she's like, no.
Oh shit.
But then like,
That's
you know,
amazing.
years later, yeah, it's just like
It's incredible, dude.
just silly shit, you know.
The senior photo is
Oh,
hilarious.
my
man.
senior photo is hilarious.
Oh,
So
is it?
actually, I mean, yeah. Besides throwing, the act of throwing a senior photo is hilarious.
It's funny in and of itself. Well, most people's
when you
senior
see it,
photos
yeah.
are pretty funny. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. What came first for you, DJing or producing?
They kind of came at the same time. Like it was really like 1984. I got my first mixer for my 14th birthday. All I cared about was scratching. So I would, you know, I would just like, I think I only had one turntable at that time. So I would play a tape on one side and then I would scratch along to it. And I actually have my first tape of that when I like got my equipment or whatever. It's obviously really terrible, but it's, you know, a nice memento for me to keep.
No, that's amazing.
I mean, I keep it. Yeah, I kind of pack rat with all that kind of stuff.
But I mean, like 10, 20, 30 years later, it's so fun to go back and listen to that stuff, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just so cool to have a time capsule of those early exploratory years.
But
Man.
yeah, I guess like that, and then making beats. Like Mattel had this kind of fake drum machine that you could buy at Toys R Us called the Synsonic drums, and so I would program beats on that, and I had like some friends that were rappers, and you know, we would just basically you just press record, and it's all kind of live to tape. There was no 4-tracking or multi-tracking. It was really this guy Miles, he went by MC Cool Breeze, and it was him and I and this other guy. Well, he was MBJ and then CKB, and then they like. I mean, he was the guy that really, in those years, I believed in myself, but I didn't believe in the universe. I was just like, it's never going to happen for me, you know, like that kind of like that, like teenage kind of rebellion, whatever, like self-deprecation. And,
Right.
But he was always the guy that, like, you know, like he was like, you should make beats for us, and I'm like, but I don't have a drum machine, and he borrowed it from someone, and you know, he had all the confidence that I lacked at that time, because I was just so used to people telling me you're not going to make it, it's not going to happen, and you kind of get programmed after a while. But this guy, he like hooked us up with the DJ from the local radio station, like the commercial radio station, and we recorded our demo in his house, and he hooked us up a gig like opening for this girl Trinier, who was kind of more like freestyle Latin dance music, but.
Okay.
You know, we were doing hip hop opening for, and so this guy Miles, he was really, I would say, the impetus of like, just me starting to make music, and he knew King Shamik, and Shamik moved to New York and was working with Twin Hype and like all these groups that were signed to Profile Records, which was the same label as Run DMC. So to see that guy Shamik move to New York and make it, and you know, I was watching like UMTV Raps, and there would be a 900 number commercial with him on it.
Damn.
With Twin Hype and
wow.
But yeah, I guess Miles and Shamik were the ones that really got me into it, because like living in San Jose too, like there was no industry, or you know, not much of a hip hop scene.
Right. Yeah, I mean, especially in that situation, and if you're getting messaging like, yo, music, you know, you're never going to make it. It's too competitive. You can't make a living.
Right.
I feel like having those mentors and people around that are positive and have that sort of like go-getter mindset is so critical, right?
Yeah.
Like you need those people that believe.
And I remember like, like to your point, Shamik, like we all did a talent show, and we rode the bus to the talent show, like the public bus, and Shamik was like, yeah, man, one of these days it's going to be like all of us, but on a tour bus like Run DMC and the Beastie Boys and the Fat Boys and Houdini and like, you know, I was like, wow, he's thinking big, you know?
Yeah.
And but then he moved to New York soon after that, and I was like, damn.
Yeah. So then, at what point did you meet the late great rapper Charisma? Rest in peace.
That was like 1990. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, so, you know, living in San Jose, I went to school at Long Beach State for my first year.
Yeah.
And I had another MC here called Spunky Spunk Dog from Long Beach. And then
Hell yeah.
I was always wondering, like, if Snoop Doggy Dog and Spunky Spunk Dog, like,
right.
Because Snoop came out later. I'm like, did he hear But
wow.
I don't think so.
Okay, the Long Beach rumors, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, but, yeah, and then I went back to San Jose, and I DJ'd on the college radio station there, and I actually put out a record with this group called Lyrical Prophecy, and I helped fund it. It was like myself and two other like program directors at the radio station. So we put that out, and from that, like, it was actually a hip hop record that with the San Jose address. It was like nothing like, you know, I mean, the record totally flopped, but the fact that we had a record with our name on it, like,
yeah, bro.
Everybody started coming to my house to like record, like, oh man, if I work with this guy, maybe I'll have a record out too. And
damn, okay.
So my idea was to do like a compilation with all the different MCs, and then Charisma was one of the guys that I met that way.
That's dope. That's dope.
So
So you had the lab, you had the studio.
I had the lab. Yeah.
That's dope, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then you and Charisma actually signed like a deal at a certain point, right?
We did, yeah. So we signed a couple of years after we started recording together. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a manager, Matt Brown, who I was gonna say he managed this actor Mahershala Ali, but back when he was a rapper. But yeah, I'm going off on tangents. But basically,
no, I love it, man. I'm here for it all. I love the stories.
Yeah, Matt basically got us heard by a lot of people, and we were on the Wake Up Show back, Sway, like in 91 or 92 or something, and
dope.
And through that, and then this guy David Paul had this magazine called The Bomb, hip hop magazine. It was kind of like a Bay Area version of The Source, but much smaller runs and stuff. And he would do these hip hop showcases, so he would have Cypress Hill on, and we would open, and he would have House of Pain on when Jump Around first came out, and, like all those kind of artists, Black Sheep, Nas, we did. Damn. When Halftime first came out, like Nas only had one song, and he did that song at it.
Wow.
Well, he probably did Live at the Barbecue actually, but
right.
So this guy, Dave, he would always put us on the bill because he really believed in us and stuff too. So, but through those experiences, we got signed to Hollywood Basics, which was Disney's kind of hip hop label or whatever.
Wow. So what was that deal like? Like, was there an advance? Like, did you guys get paid? Did you feel like
there was an advance?
We made it? Oh yeah.
Oh, we were so excited. I mean, but we never saw the money. Like, we signed for like, I don't know, it was probably like 100,000 or something on the first record, but we never saw any of it. And it was kind of a nightmare experience because what we didn't know is that the head of the label was this guy Funkenklein, and he had cancer at the time. We didn't know he was terminal.
Wow.
And he was less and less involved, and he eventually passed. I feel like that was a main reason why we kind of got shelved, I think. But we were just, we didn't really like they had like Organized Confusion. That was kind of a great group. And they had Raw Fusion, which was Money B of Digital Underground, and DJ Fuse, the DJ of Digital Underground. So it was like kind of their side project. Okay. Without Shock G. Yeah. But the way we got signed was Digital Underground was playing our demo on the tour bus, and their A&R was like, "Whoa, what's this?" and stuff. So wow. It was really, and that's what I always like to tell people is like, don't worry about the industry like accepting you. If you can find artists that you like that accept you, just do that, it goes a lot further, they usually have their finger on the pulse more than industry cats. So
100%. Yeah. Well, I was wondering like if your experience with that first deal, like if there was any foreshadowing there in terms of like what you experienced informing how you wanted to move when it came time to start Stones Throw.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, before we signed that deal, when I was in high school, my term paper, like, you know, the what do you want to do when you grow up? I wrote, I want to start a record label, and I still have that term paper, and I was talking about like all the indie labels. I mean, all the hip hop that I liked in the early 90s was all on indie labels. So it was kind of like Wild Pitch and Tough City, and
yeah.
I mean, Profile was an indie, you know, Def Jam was an indie.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And then when I met Charisma and I got really into making beats, I was like, forget this label thing. I want to just be an artist. Like,
yeah.
You know, we had gone to Germany together. Like, you know, we were like kind of like teenagers, like being overseas doing music, even from San Jose. That was unheard of. So I got a taste of that, and that's what I wanted. And then when he passed, then I took a break, but then I eventually went back to my original idea.
Yeah.
Which was starting a record label. But, you know, it was also like when Tribe had the lyric where they said industry rule number 4080, and there was
people are shady. Yeah.
And so my whole thing was I'm not gonna be that shady record label. I'm gonna prove that, like, you know, that you can do it and not take advantage of other people. So that was really and it was really frustrating when artists didn't do well, and you know, there were a couple artists that didn't do well, and they were upset at the label. And I don't know, I kind of was hyper focused on that sometimes, and you know, that's not what I got into the industry for, like,
right,
to be misunderstood and, you know, be blamed. But it's really, I mean, yeah, we've put out so many artists, and I really feel good about my relationship with, you know, 98% of them.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, there are the two that I was mentioning, or, you know, alluding to. Like, I've made amends with them recently as well, and I think,
yeah,
you know, Quincy Jones passing away yesterday. Like, he was just some of the stuff he was touching on in some of his interviews.
Yeah,
it kind of landed with me, you know, like, just not to have anger and hatred, and that, you know, that just kind of takes you down and stuff. I mean,
yeah. Rest in peace to Quincy Jones.
Yeah,
man. That's wow. Yeah. That was a shock.
That's a big loss. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I think it's amazing, man, that to start your label mission with that in mind, with that goal of like, okay, I'm not gonna fuck people over. I'm not gonna take advantage of people. Like, I'm gonna be artist forward.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna prioritize what I know is dope and not falter from that. I mean, that's everything. And to have maintained that for all this time, like, I feel like that's why the Stones Throw name is so respected, you know, at this point in time, is it's like you've really committed to that way of approaching it.
I've been really fortunate for, I mean, you know, when I look back, I just always landed on my feet like a cat or something. Like, you know, there was a lot of ups and downs, lost a lot of people too.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I started it, it was really, I wanted to put out the stuff I did with Charisma. So I put out an EP, was the first Stones Throw release, was like, you know, stuff that I had done with Charisma. And I was on the video shoot for KRS-One Step Into a World.
Damn, okay.
I was like an extra in
That's
the background
crazy.
And stuff.
No
but
way.
I had my records. We had test pressings of the Charisma EP. That was like the first Stones Throw thing. And my man Rob One, rest in peace, he was a graph writer who he had a huge Sharpie, and I was, you know, so excited to meet KRS, and I asked him to sign my record, and he did. And the video shoot was over at that point, and then they were like, wait, that looks awesome. Like, the director said, let's like run the camera and like get that on camera. And, you know, so he was like signing everybody's records, like doing his dope ass tag.
Yeah.
And
Crazy.
And then after
dope.
that, like, you know, and it was the first time any of us had heard Step Into a World, and just on that booming system, we were just like, the energy was,
That's dope. That's dope.
But his DJ was Kenny Parker, his brother, and at that point, I was just so excited, And I gave the DJ, I gave Kenny Parker's brother, I gave him the record, and I said, hey, play this over the speakers for everybody. And he looked at me, he was like, I don't know you. What are you talking about? But I was persistent. I'm like, okay. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. So I was like, all right, play it in the headphones. And if you fuck with it, then play it on the speakers. And he put it on the headphones, and I was so confident and stuff. And he was like, this is kind of dope. So he put it on the speakers.
Yeah.
And KRS turned around, and he was like, what's that?
Damn.
And I was like, that's my shit. That's me. That's me.
Yeah.
And then the next day, like, I saw him this was at a music seminar, and the next day I saw him at the seminar, and he was with Red Alert, and he was like, yo, Red, my man here, he's got this dope record. Like, he's all, yo, give it to Red Alert. And
damn.
I was just, oof.
That's crazy. That's so
Just like
dope.
pinch myself. Like, but then at that point, you know, I didn't even have any records out, but it just felt so good for Charisma to be heard at that video shoot for KRS-One. I didn't know how that song would perform. I thought it was a great song, but it was really like kind of his crowning moment song almost, you know.
That's beautiful, man. And
then I was like, now what do I do? You know, like I reached my goals, and actually I went to a KRS-One show before that, and it was sold out, and I was like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just bring a crate of records, and I'll tell the people at the front that I'm the opening DJ.
Yeah.
And so I did. I came with a crate, and then I go, oh yeah, I'm the opener. So they let me in.
Wow.
And then when I got there, when I went in there, there was no DJ. It was like quiet. So I just went up there and I started playing my records. And I was the opening DJ.
That's incredible.
And then DJ Shadow came up to me. He's like, I like what you were playing, all that, blah, blah, blah. You know, he was like name dropping the songs I was playing. It was kind of underground shit.
Wild.
But yeah, that was the origins of Stone Throw really right there.
That's incredible, man.
In the Bay Area. But it was really a lot of artists that were living in the Bay that had so much talent. This group, Homeless Derelicts, me and Charisma, we looked up to them so much, and they didn't really have a label. So I put out a single by them. I put out a single by this rapper Encore, this rapper Persevere. Like, they're basically three MCs that all use the same producer, Architect.
Yeah.
And what I didn't realize, and I was always like, I don't need contracts with my artists because I want them to work with me because they want to work with me, you know. And it was like really romantic, but kind of really stupid too. and then our engineer, he started a label, and he signed all three of my
oh no,
all three of the guys that I thought were gonna make Stones Throw what it could be. And then I met Madlib, and you know, it all like worked itself out. Yeah.
Well, I think not wanting to have contracts really speaks to the artist forward nature of what you do. Like, I mean, obviously long term, maybe that's not the play, but
yeah, I mean, I had an attorney later tell me, you know, a contract protects the artist and the label, because you know, otherwise it's just you're dealing with someone based on a lot of assumptions.
Right.
And so having things out in writing, well, I'll do this and I'll do that, and you do this and you do that. And, you know, and so I learned the hard way. Even with Madvillainy, like at first, you know, he like when we started recording songs with Doom, like he's like, so where's the contract, you know? And I'm like, oh well, I mean, yeah, we could do a contract. I'll just write it on a piece of paper right now, and I like wrote it on a napkin. Like, I'll pay you this and I'll pay you that. Wow. I mean, I'll do this, and then you know, we both signed it, and it was not like, you know, we ended up having we had a contract eventually, but like at first it was just like, this is a receipt that I paid you money for, you know.
Wow. On a napkin. The Madvillainy contract on a napkin is legendary, man. That's ridiculous. Insane. That is so crazy. Well, it's amazing, and I want to talk more about Madvillainy too. But it's funny because for me, the Stones Throw, literally the label, like the logo on the middle of the record, is etched in my memory, and was there from like basically the very beginning of me discovering hip hop for myself. Because I was born in 1990, and then when I was 11, I think 2001, that documentary on turntablism, Scratch.
Oh yeah,
It came out, and like Me and my
you saw
friend
it.
Brady, we were already into hip hop. Like he would like scratch on his fabric binder, like with his pencil to like make the sound.
Oh, shit.
You know, just like scratching the pencil on the binder, and I would do my raps and shit. And we were a group.
Yeah.
He didn't have turntables yet, but we saw that movie, and it was playing at a local theater in Portland, where I'm from. My dad read about it like in the Oregonian. He knew we were into hip hop, so he brought us. And like, I can't tell you how crazy influential that movie was on us. In terms of like,
never seen it.
You never seen it? You're in it.
And I know. I thought. Well, they
Not
interviewed me. They interviewed me though too, but then
they
it
did
was like,
okay.
and then actually they set up a whole like crew to film me DJing and stuff, and then I wasn't prepared, and I didn't DJ that night. I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm gonna make a fool out of myself. See those inner demons telling me that I can't do it. They came out that day, but
I deal with that too. Yeah.
But all that to say, like Doug Prey was really awesome, and you know, I remember like they wanted. I was hanging out like at Q-Bert's with the octagon, and you know, and
is that where that was, where the decks are all facing each other in a circle?
Yeah, it was Q-Bert's house.
Yeah, that's crazy, because that's the part that I was mentioning, that where you're in just in the background.
Oh, yeah.
You and Madlib are there hanging out,
yeah.
and it's like DJ Shadow's there and Q-Bert's there, and me and my friend Brady, we were just like, what room is this?
Right.
Like with all the turntables facing each other and everybody scratching. We were just like, we have to get to this fucking, like, it looked like somebody's living room.
Yeah.
But just fully flipped to be a studio.
Yep.
And that party was like, we were like, what the fuck is this, man?
But that scene really embraced me. I mean, you know, like Q-Bert, like he was scratching on my early records, and really, like, I had this record called Peanut Butter Breaks, which was like an instrumental hip hop record. And Q-Bert was like, oh, you got to get this to all the DJs. And like, so he gave me J-Rock's number and Shortcut, and, you know, just kind of Rob Swift, all, you know.
Yeah.
But then like what you were saying about the logo, like that logo, the Stone Throw logo, basically like the guy, my friend Fanatic, who was like making beats, and it was one of the first records I put out as well, but his brother worked at a design firm, and his brother was too busy to do anything for us, but he was like, oh, I have this other guy that can make a logo for you. And, you know, he showed me a bunch of logos, and one was a person throwing a rock, and it was just like kind of on the nose, but just not cute.
Yeah.
And I told him I'd pay him $300 for this logo, and so he showed me a bunch, and I was like, oh no. And then he gave me a second round, and at that point I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore, because it's not working out. Like, but then I kind of felt bad because he had put so much effort into it, and I said, I just want something more kind of streamlined, and just, you know, like something not generic, but just something where it's not where you wouldn't even know what kind of music it is, or, you know. And then with the third revisions, like he had the circle logo thing, and his idea was, because we couldn't afford record covers on our records in the early days, so he had the idea of having the Stone Throw logo really big, and we put out a record with DJ Babu called Super Duck Breaks.
Yeah. And that's where I first saw it.
Yeah.
Because Brady, my friend Brady, that was like the first record he bought, because that was like, maybe not the first record he bought, but as soon as we learned about scratching, it's like, gotta have it.
Yep.
Because, and for anybody watching who doesn't know, it's like, it wasn't a music release. It was like, not in a traditional sense. Right. It was like basically a tool for scratch
tool.
DJs.
Yeah, a tool for,
So it has little sound effects, beeps and bloops, vocal chops, and just things that you could scratch, basically, right?
Yep. And Missy Elliott actually used the scratch sentence for the beginning of her hip hop album. I think it was Under Construction or one of those. But yeah, I mean, basically, like, all the records I was putting out were not doing well, except for that record. That record actually kept the lights on for the first 5 years of Stone Throw, I would say. And so, really, without DJ Babu, I probably would have not been in the music industry anymore. I would have, who knows? But
damn,
I always thank him when I see him for that. But yeah, so that circle logo was really big, and I noticed, like, when people were doing routines, and you would go to these battles, and you would see it like on the screen really big, the Stone Throw logo, and it became synonymous with like turntablism.
Yeah, epic.
And people wanted to be on the label, I think, because of that. Like DJ Rome's was Madlib's DJ, and you know, like when I first met Madlib and Rome's, and Wild Child. They were a group called the Lootpack,
Yep.
and they were like, oh yeah, like, you know, we know the Super Duck Breaks, and we know the Charisma record and Homeless Derelicts. Like they were already like kind of, I don't know if I want to say fans, but like they
were
already
checking
knew,
you out.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
already knew like what was up and stuff. So.
That's dope. That's dope. Yeah, well, that Lootpack record, like, obviously the production from Madlib is crazy and something that a lot of people have pointed to as, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so influential. Dilla
Yeah.
mentioned that record is like
Yeah.
big inspiration on him. Were you like around for any of the recording sessions for that first record, that Sound Pieces record?
All of it.
You were
all of it.
Yo, so here's something I've been super curious about, and I don't
Yeah.
know if you know, like, were they freestyling some of the verses off the dome? Because like, there's references, like Wild Child is talks about like non-freestyling MCs, like when I'm on the mic.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's got
yeah.
some line where he's like, spontaneous freestyle is where I catch wreck. And I was listening to it and I was like, yo, wait a second. Like,
Right.
is he freestyling this right now?
I don't think he was, but
Okay.
he was able to freestyle, and it, you know, he would pride himself in, you know, being able to freestyle. But yeah, that record, because Madlib, you know, he always had things mixed his own way, and with that one, we went into a professional studio and we multi-tracked all the music and stuff, and mixed it down, and it came out so clean, like. You know, I had just started working with Madlib, and he wasn't like really. He didn't. I don't know if he didn't want to like hurt my feelings or upset me, but he signed off on it all. But then like years later, it was like, oh, I hate how that record turned out. Like the sonics of it, just sounded too perfect. Like, you know,
Right.
And with Quasimodo, that was like us basically. Like he had recorded a lot of that on cassette, like. 8-track cassette,
Okay.
which, you know, you take a cassette which is like this thick and you cut it into 8 parts. It's like, it just sounds really lo-fi.
Yeah.
But we loved it. We loved how warm it sounded, and you know, sampling with the SB1200 and stuff, like you kind of have that anyways to start with. But
Yeah.
the same studio where we did Lootpack, we were gonna mix down the Quasimodo, and the guy was like, I can't do that because it sounds so bad. Like. I'm gonna they'll see my name on the back of the record and they won't hire me for work anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, well, we'll just, you know, I like how they sound anyways, but like at that point I was in the Bay and Madlib was down in LA, and he like came up and we just kind of mixed it all over like a few days or something. But
Yeah.
you know, we didn't have any compression or effects or anything. It was just really just super raw, and it sounded like a demo tape, but we liked it sounding that way.
That's the sound though, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, for so many Madlib beats, and like I love like the Beat Conductor series and all that stuff, and like it's so lo-fi, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how you want it to be, raw
Yeah.
like that, and that's sort of like his calling card in so many ways. It's like.
Yeah,
You
I
don't
mean,
want
he
to
always
make
two tracks everything, and Dilla was, you know, that way a lot of times too. But like, yeah, Madlib. I mean, you know, De La Soul asked me to send him a beat tape of Madlib like years ago, and then they settled on the song "Shopping Bags." But
Right.
basically, when they were like, okay, we want this song, now get us the multis from Madlib, and there were no multis. He had already like, you know, turned the machine off and didn't save it, and.
Yeah.
I'm like, you can either use it this way or not. And, you know, Poss and I laugh about it now, but at the time he was just like, oh man, like, what am I going to do? The label's not going to, you know, and like, it was almost like you wasted my time. I like wrote to this song, and I mean, he didn't say that, but
Right.
but I felt like kind of caught in the middle, like, you know,
Sure.
And it ended up coming out, but.
I mean, the thing is, like, for me, like, because I don't produce as much nowadays, but I did make beats for a long time, and like, if I was in a situation where it was fine for me to just make beat after beat after beat, never have to go back and clean shit up or print stamps, like that would be a fucking dream. Like I hate that part. I always hated that part. Oh God, now I got to go back and figure out what I was doing, and now that, you know, it was always so complicated to even find the session. I mean, that's like,
or finding out what you sampled.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was another situation. Was like, we got these songs we like, and now, okay, how do we clear it? Oh, you know, the artist is like, I don't remember what I sampled.
Yeah, well, I was curious about that too, because like with somebody like Madlib, like on those Beat Conductor volumes where it's just beat after beat after beat, so many samples.
Yeah.
Do you guys like attempt to clear the samples ahead of time? Do you just put things out and see what comes back in terms of you know what I mean?
It's a tough one because the law has always been so prohibitive to the person sampling, just so highly in favor of the artist that was sampled.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of a racist law because hip hop is what samples. And
right.
so yeah, the early days, it was just like, well, we're under the radar, if we try to clear every sample, like the record won't come out because each person wants like an advance that's so high, like we'd never sell enough units to even do it. So
yeah.
But no one thought the Who Sampled thing was going to come out, and like,
right.
I mean, I find out like things that I didn't even, and even like me, like as an artist that used to sample, like I'll go back and like some of the things that they say I sampled, I didn't sample that record. It was something different, but
wow.
So they're not always right, but yeah. I mean, I really like it got to the point where I just didn't want to put out sample-based hip hop anymore because it's just it won't even break even like with what what they want, what these artists want. I mean, when I was on Hollywood Basics, I feel like that might have been another reason why we got shelved. There would be a song where like one sample would want 75% of publishing. On the same song, there was another sample that wanted 50% of publishing, and then another sample was 33%. So you're already like
we're at 250%.
Yeah, you're basically you're over 100%, and that's so basically.
Damn.
And I heard that's what happened with Can I Kick It? Like, oh really? Tribe ended up. I should look into this before I start rumors, but I heard that Tribe didn't get they didn't get any money on publishing for their lyrics or any they're the lyrics are like half the song.
Of course. I mean that's a classic.
Then I think they just gave it up because they were like, well, this song like could help further our career and stuff, and
Yeah, sure. But, no, that's crazy. So with the Madvillainy stuff, with Doom, you guys were all living in a house together at that point, right? Like you and Madlib and Doom during the creation of that project? Yeah. So like...
Well, I mean, Madlib was, he was living in the house. And then Doom, we got a hotel for him, but he found himself liking staying at the house with Madlib better because, I don't know, it was, I mean, we had like where we were, it was like kind of like nature, like in the hills and stuff, and we just kind of made it happen, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy. This is a random question. Did Doom rock the mask like all day at the crib, or did he just put it on like when he was going to leave the house?
No, he didn't wear the mask at the crib. But he went to a restaurant with us when he was wearing the mask one time.
Yeah, like put it on like he's like somebody puts a watch on before they leave the house or something.
Right.
It's like gotta have the accessory. That's crazy.
But
man.
I mean that whole record, they were never really in the same room together. It was like Madlib would be in the bomb shelter. It was we called his studio the bomb shelter because that house was built during the Cold War, and a selling point of that house in the 50s was you have a bomb shelter in case they drop the bomb on us.
You'll be good.
Yeah. So we called the studio the bomb shelter, but Madlib would be in the bomb shelter making music, and then Doom would usually be in my bedroom because I had a setup in my room too. Mm-hmm. And he would be and there was like a balcony. He'd kind of be outside, like just like looking at nature and stuff and writing. But even when they were in the same house together, they weren't in the same room together.
Wow. Crazy. Man, I mean, it's such a classic record. It's become one of my all-time favorites. It's funny though, like when I first heard that record, it was my first time hearing Doom. Cause I like I said, I started listening to hip hop when I was 9 or 10. It was already like year 2000.
Yeah.
So I missed out on a lot of classic shit that came out, prior to that.
Yeah.
So we were just getting into underground stuff and discovering Stone's Throw and some more underground stuff. And so that was my first time hearing Doom. And at that time, like my friend Brady, my DJ homie who I was working with, loved it. And he was like, this shit's amazing. You got to check this out.
Right.
But I remember like I wasn't ready for it because I was into MCs who were like the big, bold voice, you know, and like really like sending the message home with a more like, you know, intense delivery, I guess, a little more hype. And then Doom was so subdued and understated.
Yep.
And then the lyrics were so much more abstract than what I was used to. So I was like, man, I don't know, like what, I don't get it.
Right.
What's happening right here?
Yeah. And you were a lot younger.
I was a lot younger too. Yeah. But
well, I mean, the first version of that album, like he was rapping more in a hype voice, and like some of the other Doom stuff, he had more of a hype voice, and I never had the conversation with him why he went back and did it relaxed. But when I heard the relaxed version, I kind of had the demo-itis where I was used to the hype version, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I don't like this as much in my head. But I'm not going to tell Doom that. I'm just like thankful that he's doing a record with us, and I'm like, all right, let's let's put this out. But then it grew on me, and you know, when people hear the hype version now, they're used to, and well, I mean, used to or not, like when it's with a relaxed voice, it almost, I don't know, I feel like it could even have more impact. Like just like that relaxed confidence, you know?
Oh, yeah. It totally became the vibe of the record in so many ways. Like, I actually haven't heard the demo version, but I saw you guys are actually dropping the demo.
Well, we're doing so we actually did put it on tape years ago because, that version kind of leaked.
Right.
And we were all scrambling. Like, when it leaked, we were like, oh, man, no one's gonna want to buy this now, or you know, streaming was, I wasn't even really, I don't think Spotify was out yet. I'm not sure. Definitely not in the US. No. It was kind of like there was iTunes and there was vinyl and there was CDs. But I'm pretty sure that's why he went back and like redid songs, and then he added other songs, like Accordion was like a later song. Right.
Yeah. Dope, man. And then J Dilla comes into the fold around the same time, right? For Stone's Throw, working with you guys?
Yeah. J Dilla I had known since 95. Like that record I put out, Peanut Butter Breaks, this guy House Shoes was working at a record store in Detroit, and he was ordering my record for his store. And then he would always tell me about this guy JD, and you know, he was just really excited about him, and he would play the beats over the phone, and you know, and I couldn't really hear what was going on that way, but but then then I remember he was like, you're not gonna believe this, like Q-Tip is his manager now, and you know, and now he's working with Busta, and he's working with, you know, Farside and Tribe and De La and D'Angelo, but you know, at that point, like, Q-Tip was getting him a lot of work doing remixes for people, and he would do them on spec for the major labels, and then a lot of times they would turn it down and they would go with the bigger name. He wasn't a name yet. So he was just sitting on all these remixes, and House Shoes called me up. I was working at a record distributor, and he was like, let's put this record out, you know, JD remixes, and you know, we'll split the money, whatever. And we pressed up, I think, like 1,000, and we only sold it in Japan because we didn't want labels like, you know, mad at us in the US and stuff. So but that was my first kind of working with JD, but it was through Shoes. I didn't have any direct contact with them really. And then this distributor / label, Groove Attack, they had done stuff with us, and the guy Frank, the owner of it, he was like, hey, we have this Slum Village record, and you want to do does Madlib want to do a remix for it? And so Madlib did a remix for that, and that was kind of around the time when, it might have been after Lootpack, but even like, you know, Questlove was telling me, like I heard about Lootpack because JD was like always like showing it to everybody. And, you know, I had a friend who was a writer for Rolling Stone, and he called me and he said, D'Angelo, I asked him what his favorite album of the year is, and he said Lootpack. And so that was like,
that's crazy.
That was around 98 and stuff. So you know, JD, even before working with us, was really like uplifting Madlib. And you know, I have a letter I actually wrote to Wendy, I forget her last name, but she was an A&R, and I was like, hey, you know, like, here's some Madlib beats, like, you know, but she didn't really bite on it or anything. But
yeah,
as far as like working with JD, it was really like we went to the Slum Village show, and I had already kind of known him, you know, a little bit through working with shoes and stuff. But
right.
yeah, he called me one day and he was like, you know, he was working on his album for MCA and he wanted beats from Madlib. His concept was have beats from all different producers that he looked up to, because he was known as the beat guy.
Right.
But he kind of wanted to showcase his rapping too. Like, I don't just make beats. I make, you know, I'm an artist. So, but yeah, so we were supposed to go record, and it was actually on 9/11, and our flights got canceled, obviously. And,
whoa.
And then we weren't, you know, Madlib really didn't want to get on a plane after that, and I didn't either. But
yeah,
we looked into like taking the train, and it would have been 5 days each way. And,
damn.
And then eventually we just agreed to get on a plane and go out there. But then that got shelved, and in the meantime, like, you know, Madlib didn't get paid for that track, and JD was really hard to get a hold of. Everyone kind of was, you know, wanting to work with him at that point. And we put out like a bootleg of Madlib's beat with, I'm trying to think if JD was rapping on it. Oh, no. Okay, Madlib took JD beats and rapped over them just kind of for fun. And there was one song that I really liked. I mean, I liked all of it, but as a DJ, like, he had done a cover of The Message.
Oh, yeah.
Grandmaster Flash, The Message, and changed the lyrics around and stuff, and interpolation or whatever.
Yeah. And
so this was before you could really DJ with computers. You had to use vinyl. So I pressed up 250 copies of an EP of like unreleased stuff, and that I put that on it. And then JD called me and he's like, yo, what's up with that? You know?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah. We only did like, he's like, no, but I'm feeling that. He's like, let's do some shit, like, but officially.
Yeah.
And you know, so
it's the official.
So that was like really,
yeah.
I don't remember. I think that was the first song we released with that, but
on the Jaylib.
Yeah.
project.
On Jaylib.
Yeah.
But yeah. We kind of were recording Jaylib and Madvillainy around the same time, and those albums got finished at the same time. We're like, you know, what do we put out first? And
yeah, that's crazy. Did you know, because you're sitting on two like what became classic records?
Yeah.
Did you know, like, damn, these are going to be special, or were you like, we'll see?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, they were special to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember as we were recording the Madvillainy, like we would go to like this club and play it over the speakers to hear what it sounded like. And you know, it was a small underground hip hop community that would go to these gigs, but they were all like big J Dilla fans and Doom fans. So yeah, to hear it on the big speakers, like there just was there was an energy around it that was bigger than the other stuff that we had done before that.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, our record release party for it was like, you know, it was maybe like 500 capacity or something. It wasn't like a stadium or anything, you know? Like,
yeah.
So,
right.
So it took on a life, you know, through the years. I think it was just something that people went back to.
Yeah.
But that's Madvillainy. Like, I honestly thought they would do about the same. I didn't think one would outperform the other, but it's like not even close. I mean, the Jaylib record, it was never like a commercial success for us. Sure. And the irony is we spent more money promoting that one, because when I talked to JD, he was like, do whatever, you know. He's like, let's do videos. He's like, I like being with Stone's Throw because y'all like spend money on videos. And, you know, we took out ads in the Source. And with Madvillainy, it was, Doom was like, no, I don't want to do any of that. Like, let's just keep it underground. And
wow.
so, you know, it was really me listening to the artist, like taking the lead on how they want to do it. I mean, actually, I did talk Doom into doing videos eventually. Like, you know, he was like, no videos. And then I was like, what about an animated video? And he's like, oh, I've always wanted to do an animated video, and I got a guy to do it, but it took
for
him,
all caps, right?
For all caps.
Yeah,
and it
that's
took
a
him
crazy
months. Video. Yeah. And I'm trying to think, I think he chose, I need to ask him this, but I think James Rotano, who did the video, I think he chose that song because it lended itself to video better, like to animation and stuff, and just felt like Streets of San Francisco or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we eventually talked him into doing a video live action, but where someone would play him, and that was Rhinestone Cowboy.
Oh, right, okay.
And that was with Andrew Gura, and I think Andrew might have talked him into being in the video, and then, but it might have been like a year later or something. I don't really recall all of it, but then when we filmed for that, we still had time left over, and Andrew talked him into doing accordion also, like doing a video for that, and that was done in our office, like upstairs.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah. So,
wow. Ill. So here's something I'm curious about, like, because Stone's Throw is basically a direct reflection of your personal taste in many ways. Like, what do you listen for? Is there anything tangible that you could point to in terms of what you listen for when you're checking out music and deciding what you rock with and what you don't? Or is it more of just a feel kind of thing?
It's definitely not genre specific, but there's like, there's good and bad, and like I think in every genre. Yeah, I mean, it's just like, what would I be proud to have my logo on the back of the record, basically. I mean, at its simplest form, but I don't know. Yeah, there isn't like a Stone's Throw sound necessarily. I don't. Right. I mean, I've other people tell me that there is, but I don't. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because it's so eclectic that in some ways it's like that's the sound. The sound is that it's like almost a hodgepodge of this underground music that doesn't quite sound like anything else that's out. So that almost feels like the unifying factor to me.
Yeah.
But another thing I find interesting is like so often it seems like it's the kind of the side project that the artist himself was sleeping on that ends up being really great. Like when you have like Quasimodo, it's like on the backside of a tape. You're not supposed to, you weren't even necessarily supposed to hear it. It was like Madlib's thing for himself or whatever.
Right.
With Mayor Hawthorne, like same thing. It's like those bedroom demos that end up being where his career goes. And even like with Donuts, right? Like it was like when Dilla's sharing that with you, he's not necessarily hearing it as an album, right? And you're like, hey, this sounds like a record.
Yeah. I mean, with the Donuts, I don't know if it was his intention to put it out that way, but before he had a chance to explain anything, I was like, let's put this out, like, and I told him, like, any MCs that want to use the beat, like, we can work that out too. It doesn't have to be like exclusively on this album, those beats.
Right.
And I just remember like when he passed, like Ma Dukes would call me up and just ask me about different MCs, like, oh, that this guy Ghostface Killer like wants a beat. Like, I'm like, yeah, tell him yes. Tell him yes.
That's crazy. Why do you think it's so often like those side projects that end up being the thing that you recognize as something that needs to come out?
It's just dope. I don't know. I mean, it's with Madvillainy, it was, I didn't think it was going to sell that well because it was all like one verse, a lot of really short songs and no choruses and everything. But that being said, I really loved it. And I was really excited to put it out. I mean, he and I did everything I could to like get that record out. And I mean, Quasimodo I thought would do better than it did. It's, to like people have the tattoo and stuff, but it's not, people don't know that.
Well, it's so deeply loved by the people who fuck with it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, and that just that.
And Doom really loved it. And I think that was like Doom's like version of Quasimodo. I mean, we never had that conversation, but I mean, we sent him all of Madlib's other stuff, like the Yesterday's in a Quintet, which is Madlib, playing all the instruments and making a jazz record. And Doom was like, I want to rap on that. And, Madlib always kept everything separate, like the jazz record's here, the electronic record, DJ Rel's is over here.
Right.
Here's some Quasimodo. And with Madvillainy, he kind of was using like, you know, the what yesterday's new quintet stuff too.
Yeah, crazy. All right, I know we're getting close on time, but I want to ask a couple questions about records. This is the question everybody wants to know, man. How many records does Peanut Butter Wolf own?
I have no idea. I've lost a lot through the years. You know, I lost a lot. I lost thousands to mold.
Damn.
When we were in that house with the bomb shelter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of my records are housed at Goldline, my bar.
Yep.
I have a lot of records in storage. I have a lot of records in my office. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's like kind of quality. Well, I was going to say quality over quantity, but
maybe
you know,
just
I have like, yeah, I have rare records, and I have, you know, common records too that are just as important to me. So
yeah. Do you have like a most prized record?
There's some artists that I would say, yeah. I mean, yeah, I have a lot. No, I mean, I have a lot that are important to me, but
yeah,
I wouldn't single one out really.
Yeah, yeah. Do you still? And how often are you still like shopping for records and digging nowadays?
It kind of goes back and forth. Lately, so you know, I did the fatherhood thing later. I just during lockdown, I had my first daughter. She's
Amazing.
4 years old now.
Congrats.
And then I have a son who's 10 months old. So
incredible.
I've kind of been more in like baby land lately.
Yeah, fair.
But I do. I mean, yeah, I still like, yeah, I do the Discogs thing, and I'm still in stores and stuff too. But
yeah,
I mean, the buying records is never going to stop for me until I'm not, you know, alive.
Yeah,
I mean,
to the grave.
Yeah.
What's the longest you've ever spent in a record store, you think?
I'm the slow shopper. It would drive. I mean, I remember it would drive Madlib crazy because he would just get a lot of records, like probably more than me, but not listen to him. He was like, I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
And you know, with the Madvillainy, like some of the samples he used, like are not even anything that I would think of sampling or like think would work in hip hop, but it really did. And with me, I want to listen to everything, or you know, if there's a listening station, or if not, I'll try to find it on YouTube. And so yeah, I mean, basically anybody that you know that has record shop with me will probably tell you that I take too long. Yeah.
Well, the name of this podcast is Flow State. Is that like a term you're familiar with at all?
A little. I mean,
it's basically like, my understanding of it is it's basically like when you're just fully immersed in the task at hand, right?
Yeah.
Like lose track of time, lose sense of yourself. It's like nothing else really matters except what you're there doing. I'm curious, like, do you experience something like flow state when you're digging for records? Like, do you get?
I do. I mean, I would say making beats maybe more so, but I'm not really making beats that much these days. I do remixes and stuff, but
yeah,
with making music, I try to just turn my brain off and like just kind of see what happens. And yeah, a little meditative thing, I guess. But
totally.
But yeah, with records too, I guess. Sure.
When you're making beats nowadays, what's your weapon of choice? Like, are you using a computer?
I don't even really make beats like that, I guess. I mean, it's like, I'll sample drums or use drum machine or and then like live instrumentation and stuff too.
Right.
Sometimes the samples. It's really a case by case basis, but yeah, I've gotten really back into like liking to go to the studio and, you know, make stuff. Yeah.
And you have a sort of newer musical project right now with Campus Christy, right?
Yeah.
What's up with that? What's your role in the group, and what are you guys working on?
I mean, it was really, I kind of approach it like from like a DJ perspective, like turning people onto music that they don't know. And it was basically me wanting to do covers of songs that never really were known or anything. So, I chose all the songs, and then I had this guy, Brian Ellis, who's kind of musical genius guy, go in and recreate all the music, and then I go in and do all the vocals. So,
Dope.
yeah.
Hell yeah. Are you guys gonna do any live stuff at any point? Or
We were talking about it. I mean, I have trouble like remembering lyrics. That's like the one thing, but
Yeah.
it gives me an appreciation, like trying to be on the other side of it now, you know, like.
Yeah. I have trouble remembering lyrics too, man. It's funny. Like, that's why I like to freestyle all my
Yeah.
shit. Like, cause I'm that, like, when I have to do a show, I get nervous for like the couple songs I'm gonna do.
Right,
Most of
right.
my show is improvised, you know?
Wow.
So
Yeah.
that part I'm not nervous about. I'm like, well, nobody
Right.
knows the words anyway. I can make it up. I know how to do that, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like when I gotta do it word for word and somebody might know how it goes and then I might
Yeah.
fuck it up and then, you know, so
Yeah.
yeah, man, I feel that.
You get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that. Man. Okay, dope. So and you mentioned Goldline a little bit too. We're gonna head over there and
Yeah.
do a freestyle
Yeah.
inspired by some of your records. Well, Peanut Butter Wolf, man, I want to thank you so much for taking the
Yes,
time
sir.
for being on here. Super inspired by the way you've done things, man. Focusing on what's dope to you, saying fuck the money and doing it for the right reasons, man, and
Thank
for the
you.
relationships. So just want to applaud you, my friend. Thank you so much.
Well, we do like making money, but we also like making sure that everybody makes money. That's
Yeah, for anybody watching this, make sure this man gets paid, all right? Along with all the artists on the roster, everyone's going to get paid. Everyone's going to do well. I appreciate you, man.
Succeed together.
That's it. Beautiful. I love it.
All right, man.
Let's
Thanks.
do it, man.
Yeah.
All right. Hell yeah.
Ready?
I'm ready, man.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you, bro. Yo, you know what it is, man. Harry Mack here with the legendary Peanut Butter Wolf, Stone's Throw Records. We're at Goldline here in Highland Park. How many records do you think are in here, man?
There's like 12,000.
12,000 records.
They're on a Discogs page. That's how I know.
There you go. Check the Discogs page. Get all the details. All right, so you picked out a handful of records.
Got a handful.
I'm going to use them in my freestyle. We're going to improvise, see what happens over some choice selections here. Let's get it. Yo. Yo. Check it. Hey, lyrics I push, guaranteed to get you high like the Kush. We locked in with the legendary Peanut Butter Wolf. My decision is final, I'm cracking your spinal. About to do a freestyle based on his vinyl. Yeah, I break it down, obstacles what I bust through. I wish I could go back in time and rep with the tough crew. I break it down for all of y'all whenever I get busy. Check out the fan jam, I'ma leave you dizzy. I break it down for everyone that's so deaf. When I grip up on the mic, I spit it till I'm out of breath. Yeah, we got the techno that's tough, plus tough is in the house. And we will rock on till down and out, no doubt. Art of love and the love of the art, I serve them up. All the cart rappers playing a part. Ayo, we dropping classics. When I rhyme, I'm working magic. Situation for these other rappers getting drastic. Yo, what we got next? My flow is astounding, very on the nose. This is an album. Hey yo, y'all know I'm all up in the biz. We gon' do it like this title, we gon' call it what it is, yeah. And when I rhyme, I be filling you with hope. My version of this is a t-shirt that says dope. Obvious indeed, but still, it must be stated. And when it become a deliverance, they know I stay creative. On this side, we got the triple F, the rise, the fishing in the round. On that side, the bags, home and ease, peep the sound. I break it down for everybody listening and keep on climbing when I'm rhyming till I'm top positioning. Yo, what we got next for this lyrical flex? H-Mac, man, I keep some rhymes all on deck. Yeah, I'ma break it down cause I be rapping tight. Lyrically, I'm reflecting old school like black and white. I bring the colors together, yo, I rap for days. I got the people dancing like it was a cabaret. Voltaire, when it comes to lyrics, yo, I'm all flair. When I be spitting it right off the tip of the metal, I'm making them all aware. I break it down non-stop. Yo, Eddie's out from here to the walls of Jericho. Y'all know what we about. Go and peep the records, got the rare shit on deck. Every time I rhyme, yo, the Mac catch wreck. Let's feel it, yeah, I break it down for y'all. H-Mac coming through, yo, I'm the one to call. Yo, I can live for certain whenever the Mackin' is working. Volume 1, you better peep the best of Gherkin. Yeah, I'ma do it for y'all, the truth runner. Is it the graffiti writer or a cucumber? Maybe it's a little bit of both. Yo, I spit the shit when I brag and boast. Lyrically, I took the oath. Gherkin Records, it's the best of compilation. We about to take over the game, we dominating. And y'all know I be out here making big moves.
All you rappers beginners, y'all are more green than this dude. I'm about to get my paper up, I pull the caper off, and when it comes to rhymes right off the mental, I'm a major boss. Hey yo, I'm out here working magic. Hold up, let's take our time with this, cause this is certified classic. Yo, hold on, next beat coming. Yeah, this is certified classic. Yeah, said this is certified classic. I be controlling all your thoughts, rolling with the fellowship. Yo, we the bullies on the block. I strike with rhyme, I'm never right in mine. I'd rather improvise like the legend Mike and Nine. I be dropping the craziest poems, breaking your bones. I be wishing peace to rappers, feel like AC alone in the zone when I break it down. Self Jupiter, span through the cosmos while I spit the truest verse. Yeah, and these rappers kill it hardly. Just look at the cover, I wish I was up at that party. Live in the crowd, doing it loud with the free flow. Every day I be bumping the inner city griots. I break it down for all of y'all, we pushing past the boundary. Cause when I be spitting, yo, every sound is free. Rappers never clowning me, I'll show you how it goes. Mack truly going crazy with these flows. Yeah, and I be on my mission, kid, I'm ripping this. And every time I'm spitting slick, they hit me with kissy lips. What can I say? Y'all know I'm here to prove that I'm the rapping god. No trouble, I'm in my shuttle blasting off. Yeah, I'ma be legendary like Hasselhoff. Matter of fact, legendary like David Axelrod. Knock the planet off its axle, off its rod. Every time I spit, I prove that Mack is just a god. I break it down for all of y'all and spit insane crazy. I do it for regular girls and the strange ladies. All of the above, rockin' getting love. Y'all know that we winning when push comes to shove. Yo, beats on this record, we gotta turn these up. Shouts to the legendary crew called the Beat Nuts. Yeah, this record hit me with that. We take them to the street level when I'm spitting these raps. Yeah, breaking it down non-stop with the jazz samples. That's ample, I get funky, drop it heavy as the anvil. I get funky and on the ground is where I lay these lames down. Funky like Bootsy Collins and James Brown. Funky like Earth, Wind, and Fire while I live out my desires. Hold down my empire. Fuck the attire or designer. I'm the #1 rhymer, the tree climber. Every time I spit this, I let them bear the witness. Hey yo, when I'm spitting, I go mad berserk. I'm innovating in this music game just like craft work. Hey yo, I stitch it together like a quilt. As soon as the next beat drops in, it's sure to get killed. It's sure to get murked. I'm sure to get busy cause the Mack is doing work. I'm going crazy berserk. Oh shit, I help to keep you focused like the cover take you on a road trip. I spit it in a flyway and kill it my way. Rappers better know it's Mack's way or the highway. Do as I say, I change the game by pressing the button. For me to fuck up rappers' heads, it is nothing. Yo, last one on deck, I'm here to catch wreck. Y'all know I'm about to slam it, my crew is doing damage. Hey yo, I got them running frantic, make them panic. I navigate through the ups and downs cause this life is manic. Yeah, and y'all know I'm forever aware. Wait, this is just the cover, there's no record in there. Yeah, matter of fact, I'ma transcend it. He said, you'll be doing damage, Mack, be careful, don't bend it. Hey yo, I'm about to fill y'all up with the vibe that I provide. He's got the record outside. Yeah, I break it down for y'all indeed to kick the free flow. I wish that I could get down with this here trio. I do it better when I spit it something clever. How are all these dudes doing damage, rocking sweaters? Yeah, I break it down, nobody's hard as them. They doing damage even while rocking the card again. Hey yo, the game, I'm heating it up, the track, I'm beating it up, y'all know the deal. Every time I spit, I'm about to prove the flow is real. Is that for me to rhyme about, or that's just this content? Okay, when I rhyme, I'm blowing up like a bomb threat. See, when I rap, the people talk to me. He said, no, not a new yep, option B. Reselected direction. Here, I be live with my own flow, rocking with the founder of Stone's Throw. Legendary independent shit, only the dopest. For other rappers stepping up to Mack, y'all know it's hopeless. All 3 beats got murked, I'm doing work. I told y'all when I'm spitting, I'm going crazy berserk with my own rhyme. Let my flow shine, leaving rappers with a broke spine while I hop on the track like Goldline. Yeah, I be going rhymes too hard when I'm spitting live right here at the Vinyl Bar. Live for the Flow State Pod, y'all know the deal. Mack with the lyrics that be getting the pill. I get you lifted like the Kush. Lyrically, I came to push. Mack, official collab. It's Peanut Butter Wolf. Let's go.
One take.
One take. That's how we do, man. Y'all know what it is.
Any of these records.